Happening right now, Gulfport police are looking for a man accused of killing his wife and another man. The victims, Coritnick Graves and Alina Davis, were shot multiple times inside a home on Graves Avenue.
November 26th, 2024, 7:30 p.m., Graves Avenue, Gulfport, Mississippi. Two people sit on a couch inside a quiet home. The door explodes open. Gunshots rip through the air. 1, 2, 3, more. Then silence. Two bodies. No chance to run. No chance to fight back. What drives a man to hunt down his own wife like prey? Can a restraining order stop a bullet? And why did an MMA fighter, trained to break bones and dominate opponents, end up completely defenseless? This is the story of Alina Davis, 50 years old, known around town as the cake therapist. She was a licensed professional counselor who spent her days guiding people through their darkest moments, and her nights baking elaborate cakes that brought smiles to broken faces. She had 2 kids, a master's degree, and a heart big enough to heal strangers. But Alina was hiding, running, terrified of someone who once promised to love her. There was a love triangle, a house set on fire, a protection order that meant nothing, and a man, her husband, who refused to let her go, even if it meant destroying everything in his path. By the time the smoke cleared, 2 bodies lay cold, and 1 man was on the run. Welcome to Shadows of Crime, where we don't sugarcoat the darkness. If you are ready for stories that'll make you question everything, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and share this with someone who loves a good mystery. And drop a comment. Where are you watching from today? Let's build this community. Before she became a headline, Alina Maria Hinton was a daughter of Gulfport, Mississippi. Born August 2nd, 1974, to John Hinton and Cheryl Evans. She grew up in a city where everyone knew everyone, and where ambition could take you far if you worked hard enough. Alina worked hard. She wasn't content with just 1 degree or 1 university. She attended Tuskegee University, then the University of Alabama, where she earned her bachelor's degree. She pushed further, completing her master's at Alabama A&M University, and later studied at Grand Canyon University. Education wasn't just a goal for Alina, it was her weapon against the world's pain. As a licensed professional counselor, she dedicated her life to healing trauma and guiding people through their darkest moments. Clients didn't just respect her, they trusted her with secrets they couldn't tell anyone else. She had a gift for making people feel seen, heard, and understood. But Alina had another talent that made her unforgettable: baking. She earned the nickname Cake Therapist because she whipped up elaborate cakes and cupcakes as therapy for herself and gifts for clients. Buttercream became her meditation. Fondant became her art. Friends joked that her desserts could fix a bad day faster than any counseling session. Outside of work, Alina was loud and proud about her Alabama football team, Roll Tide, and loved the thrill of slot machines, bingo nights, and tailgating with friends. Her obituary described her as a light of love, generosity, and understanding, and those who knew her said that wasn't exaggeration. It was just Alina, a woman surrounded by love, yet somehow she ended up running for her life. Alina's first marriage was to John Fairley. They built a life together, had children, seemed stable. But around 2020, while still married, Alina met Christopher Antoine Davis, a customer who fell hard for her cakes. The attraction was mutual. Rumors spread fast on social media that the affair started before her divorce was finalized. One commenter later wrote, "Same way he got her, he lost her." Alina left Fairley. Drama erupted. Fairley and Christopher went back and forth online, airing grievances like a public soap opera. But Christopher wasn't interested in sharing the spotlight for long. He swept Elena off her feet with trips to Vegas, California, and New York. By 2022, they were married, blending their families under one roof. Videos from that time show playful moments, Christopher teasing her, laughter filling the room. But fairy tales don't last when monsters wear masks. What Elena didn't know? The man who wooed her with sweet words had a temper that would turn her life to ashes, literally. The honeymoon didn't last long. Christopher Antoine Davis knew how to play the part during courtship. Charming, attentive, generous with trips and affection. But once the ring was on Elena's finger and their families merged, the mask started cracking. Disagreements that should have been minor turned explosive. Elena, a woman known for her positivity and warmth, started fearing for her life. Friends noticed the shift. She stopped posting on social media. Her usual brightness dimmed. When people asked if everything was okay, she smiled and changed the subject. But behind closed doors, things were falling apart. By mid-November 2024, the violence escalated beyond control. Christopher physically assaulted Elena, leaving her terrified and injured. She didn't stay silent this time. She fled their home, sought medical help, and did what so many survivors are told to do. She filed a protection order against him. Police records confirmed what Elena already knew. Christopher was dangerous. He had felony domestic violence warrants out of D'Iberville and Gulfport. There was also a no-bond harassment warrant, meaning he wasn't supposed to be walking free. But he was, still out there, still hunting. Days after the assault, Christopher decided that if he couldn't have Elena, no one would. He attempted to burn down their Pine Haven home, with her inside. Witnesses watched in horror as flames consumed half the house. Elena escaped by seconds, running into the street as smoke billowed behind her. Harrison County Fire Rescue arrived and confirmed it was arson. Fire Chief Pat Sullivan investigated, but no immediate arrest was made. No officers showed up to drag Christopher away in handcuffs. Elena's world was collapsing, and her safety net had been shredded to nothing. Desperate and terrified, Elena turned to someone she believed could protect her. Courtnick Graves. Courtnick was 52 years old, a seasoned MMA fighter with quiet strength and a protective nature. Elena had met him, possibly at a casino hotel, and their connection grew quickly. He wasn't just another man. He felt like a shield, someone who could stand between her and the chaos Christopher brought. When Christopher discovered them together, his obsession ignited into something far more dangerous. Online debates later dissected the situation. One commenter wrote, "If you're gonna cheat, do it with someone who can protect you." Another said, "Courtnick Graves is a real MMA fighter. I understand why Christopher came with a gun. You had to have a gun messing with Courtnick Graves." Courtnick believed his fists could stop Christopher. He was wrong. 2 days before the murders, Christopher posted something chilling on social media. "You were my finest accomplishment, but my biggest disappointment." Was it a goodbye? A threat? A promise? No one knew for sure. But looking back, it reads like a man who had already made his decision. Pause for a second. If you were Elena's friend, what would you tell her to do? Stay and risk it? Run and hope? Drop your answer in the comments, and be honest. Would you have seen this coming? Elena thought she'd found safety. She thought an MMA fighter could stop a raging ex. But Christopher wasn't coming to fight. He was coming to finish it. November 26th, 2024, 7:30 p.m., Elena Davis and Courtnick Graves were inside his home on Graves Avenue in Gulfport. She'd been hiding there for days, too scared to go anywhere else. Witnesses who spoke to police off camera later described the tension. She was terrified. He was trying to protect her. They were sitting on the couch, maybe talking about what to do next, Maybe planning how to stay one step ahead of Christopher. Maybe just trying to breathe for a moment, hoping the worst was behind them. It wasn't. The door exploded open. Christopher Antoine Davis, 54, burst into the house with a gun raised. No words, no hesitation, no chance for negotiation or escape. Gunfire erupted. Multiple shots tore through the living room. Bullet holes scarred the floor. One round lodged into a door. The sound was deafening. Then it stopped. Elena and Kortnick were dead before they could react. Christopher fled the scene immediately. Neighbors heard the gunshots and screams. 911 calls flooded in. By the time police arrived, all they found was carnage. 2 bodies on the couch, blood pooling on the floor, and no sign of the shooter. Gulfport Police Department issued an urgent manhunt. Christopher Antoine Davis, armed and dangerous. His face was plastered across local news stations and social media. The community was told to stay alert, lock their doors, and report any sightings. Tips started flooding in. People who'd seen Christopher. People who knew where he might run. The community rallied, determined to help bring him in before he could hurt anyone else. 48 hours later, on Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, November 28th, Christopher Antoine Davis was arrested in Gulfport. Police credited the public's tips for his capture. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, along with arson and assault charges stemming from the earlier attack on Elena and the fire at their Pine Haven home. But the arrest didn't bring peace. It brought a firestorm. Social media exploded with opinions from friends, acquaintances, and strangers who felt compelled to weigh in. The comment sections became battlegrounds. Some defended Christopher, or at least tried to explain his actions. A mutual friend of all 3 tried to offer context. Twan Dunn flipped out. "Aye, but you don't mess with people's wives. Even if they were separated, let them go through their divorce. I wasn't there, but I do know Kortnick Graves is a real MMA fighter. So I understand why Twan came with a gun. You had to have a gun messing with Kortnick Graves." But the brutal truth cut through all the noise. MMA moves mean nothing against a loaded gun. A protection order is just paper when the system fails to enforce it. Elena sought help. She filed the right paperwork. She fled to someone she thought could keep her safe. She did everything right. She still died. Here's the question nobody wants to answer. Could this have been stopped? Should the cops have arrested Christopher after the arson? After the assault? Tell me in the comments, where did the system fail Elena? But this story isn't just about one man's rage. It's about a pattern, a cycle. And if we don't break it, Elena won't be the last. Here's where the story gets darker and more infuriating. Elena wasn't Christopher's first victim. She was just the one who didn't survive. Police records confirm that Christopher Antoine Davis had felony domestic violence warrants out of both D'Iberville and Gulfport. He also had a no-bond harassment warrant, which means a judge deemed him dangerous enough that he shouldn't be released under any circumstances. These weren't minor infractions. These were red flags screaming that this man was a threat. Elena filed her protection order weeks before the murders. She followed the rules. She went to court, presented evidence, and got the legal document that was supposed to keep her safe. But it was never enforced. Christopher walked free, even with active warrants, even with a no-bond status. How does that happen? The arson investigation tells the same story of failure. Fire Chief Pat Sullivan confirmed that the fire at Elena's Pine Haven home was arson. Witnesses saw Christopher try to burn the house down with Elena inside. Half the structure was destroyed. Yet no warrants were issued before the murders. No arrest was made. Christopher had time to plan, to stalk, to execute his final attack. So why was he still free? The answer is a systemic breakdown that costs lives every single day. Mississippi has some of the weakest domestic violence enforcement in the country. Shelters are underfunded. Police departments are stretched thin. Protection orders are treated like suggestions instead of legal mandates. Abusers like Christopher exploit these loopholes because they know the system moves slowly, and by the time it catches up, it's too late. Christopher knew he had time. He knew he could evade arrest long enough to finish what he started. Now let's talk about the love triangle debate that exploded online after the murders. Was Elena cheating? Technically, yes. She and Christopher were still married when she began her relationship with Courtney Graves. But context matters. She had filed for a protection order. She had fled her home after being physically assaulted. She had narrowly escaped being burned alive. At what point does a marriage stop being a marriage and start being a death sentence? Some online commenters argued she should have waited for the divorce, but waiting could have killed her sooner. Divorce proceedings take time. Time Christopher was using to terrorize her. Does infidelity justify murder? The answer is no. It never has been, and it never will be. Courtney Graves wasn't a homewrecker. He was a shield, a 52-year-old MMA fighter who believed his training and strength could protect Elena from her violent husband. He was trained to fight humans, not bullets. His death was collateral damage in Christopher's vendetta, a man killed simply because he tried to help. And then there are the children. Maria Stewart and Jason Fairley lost their mother to violence. Elena had left them with their biological father, John Fairley, before the murders. She knew danger was coming. She knew Christopher was escalating. So she made the hardest decision a mother can make. She sent her kids away to keep them safe. Now, Maria and Jason carry a weight no child should bear. Could we have saved her? The answer is no. They couldn't. But the system could have. The community's grief poured out in Elena's obituary. It described her as a light of love, generosity, and understanding, and promised that her legacy will live on through her children, family, and friends. Those words are beautiful. They're also heartbreaking, because Elena's legacy isn't just about the lives she touched as a counselor and the cakes she baked with love. Her legacy is also a warning. It's a spotlight on a system that failed her at every turn, a protection order that wasn't enforced, an arson investigation that stalled, warrants that meant nothing, a man who walked free until he decided to kill. Elena did everything right. She reported the abuse. She fled. She sought help. She trusted the system to protect her. The system let her die. So what do? How do we stop the next Christopher Davis from turning love into a crime scene? Elena's story didn't have to end this way. So let's talk about what can be done for potential victims, for the system, and for all of us watching from the sidelines. First, recognize the pattern. Abuse follows a predictable cycle. Charm, then control, then violence, then escalation. Christopher hid his temper until after the wedding. That's not unusual. Watch for isolation tactics, cutting you off from friends and family. Watch for jealousy that feels suffocating instead of flattering. Watch for explosive anger over small things. These aren't quirks, they're warnings. Second, document everything. Texts, voicemails, photos of injuries, names of witnesses who saw what happened. Elena had evidence, but the system didn't act fast enough. Your documentation might be what saves your life or puts your abuser behind bars. Save it in multiple places. Cloud storage, a trusted friend's phone, somewhere he can't access. Third, understand that leaving is the most dangerous time. 80% of domestic violence deaths happen after separation. That's when abusers realize they're losing control and they escalate to lethal violence. So don't announce your plans. Don't give warnings. Pack a go bag with IDs, cash, medications, and kids' essentials. Hide it somewhere safe. Use code words with trusted friends so you can signal for help without tipping him off. Apps like Circle of Six let you send silent alerts to your support network. Fourth, choose shelters over protectors. Elena hid with Courtney Graves, and Christopher found her. Shelters offer anonymity, security, and legal aid that a friend or new partner can't provide. Fifth, know the limits of legal tools. Protection orders are a start, but they're only as good as the enforcement behind them. Demand GPS monitoring for your abuser. Demand risk assessments. Demand immediate arrests for violations. Don't accept excuses about paperwork or processing times. Your life is on the line. Enforce warrants immediately. Christopher had a no-bond warrant, which means he should have been in jail. Instead, he was free to stalk, burn, and kill. Domestic violence cases escalate fast. Treat them like the emergencies they are. Fund shelters and enforcement. Support survivors without judgment. Don't ask why she didn't leave sooner. Don't blame her for the affair or the choices she made under duress. Offer resources, not opinions. Listen more than you talk. Share this video. Awareness spreads faster than violence. Someone in your circle might need to hear this today. Donate to domestic violence organizations. Volunteer your time. Advocate for stronger laws in your state. Pressure your representatives to fund shelters and enforce protection orders. Elena did everything she was supposed to do. She still died. That's not on her. That's on a system that failed her and on a man who chose murder over letting go. We can't bring her back, but we can make sure the next Elena has a better chance. Thanksgiving 2024 was Elena's last. Her children, Maria Stewart and Jason Fairley, spent the holiday without their mother. No hugs, no laughter. No cakes baked with love, just the hollow ache of a chair that will stay empty forever. Courtney Graves' family mourned a man who tried to do the right thing. He opened his home to someone in danger. He believed his strength could make a difference. He paid for that belief with his life. Christopher Antoine Davis sits in a cell now, facing 2 counts of first-degree murder, plus arson and assault charges. He's looking at life in prison, or worse. But no sentence will bring back the 2 people he killed. The unanswered questions haunt this case. Could the arson arrest have saved them? If police had acted immediately after Christopher tried to burn Elena alive, would she and Courtney still be here? Why did the protection order fail? Elena filed it weeks before her death. She did everything the system told her to do. So why was Christopher still free to hunt her down? And here's the question that should terrify all of us. How many more Elenas are hiding right now, hoping that a piece of paper will stop bullets? Elena's obituary called her a light of love, generosity, and understanding. That's true. But her death is a spotlight on a broken system, on unchecked rage, on the cost of inaction. Courtney's death is proof that heroism isn't enough when the law refuses to act. Elena and Courtney deserved better. So do the next victims. Subscribe to Shadows of Crime. We're not here to entertain. We're here to expose, to educate, to end this. Drop a comment. What's one thing you'll do differently after hearing this story? And share this video. Someone's life might depend on it. Rest in peace, Elena Maria Hinton Davis. Rest in peace, Courtney Graves. Your story won't be forgotten. And Christopher Antoine Davis, your story's just beginning. Behind bars where you belong.